Hello, I'm William Gallagher. This is Apple Insider, and this is for you if you've just got yourself a new Apple Watch, especially actually if it's your first ever one. The Apple Watch, it has become more of its own thing, more of a separate independent device over the years, separate from the iPhone, but it's still tied to that iPhone, and actually never more so than now when you're setting it up. So here's what to do with your Apple Watch and your iPhone once you've got your watch out of the box and put it on your wrist. First, actually, you need to turn the thing on. You turn on your Apple Watch by pressing and holding the side button until you see the Apple logo. And actually, Apple says this can take a few minutes, but just for once, they're being a bit overcautious. It doesn't tend to take that long at all. Not this part. Once your watch is on, it's just going to tell you to bring it near to your iPhone, which presumably is always on. And when you do this, your iPhone is going to recognize that you've done it. It's exactly the same as Apple does with AirPods. The iPhone displays an image of the device, of the Apple Watch in this case, and it asks if you want to continue setting it up. And of course, yes, you do. There is a question, though, and Apple actually asks it next, whether you want to set up this watch for yourself or for a family member. And the difference is, if you say that it's going to be for your third cousin, fourth time removed, Apple actually adds a few extra steps into the process. I mean, they're pretty obvious basic ones, like you have to pick which family member it's going to be, which, by the way, means they have to be in your contacts list. And then there are issues you can choose set up to do with parental controls for them. But otherwise, it's all very much the same as the, presumably, much more common thing of setting up a watch for yourself. Which means, actually, whichever way you do this, the next step is you have to do this. You have to position your iPhone so that it is over the Apple Watch. And the watch displays this, I mean, truly beautiful, isn't it? Hazy, gauzy animation. It displays it. The iPhone sees that. The two are paired together very quickly. That watch, if you like, now belongs to that iPhone. You're just nowhere near finished yet. Next, you have to choose between setting the watch up as new, as a brand new watch, or setting it up using a backup from an old watch you've had. And of course, you don't have any choice in the matter if this is your very first Apple Watch. But if it is, the difference is that, again, you're just going to get a few extra steps, a few extra questions. They're all to do with the business of privacy, location, so things that you're going to say. For speed, actually, let's do this with a backup from an old watch, and you'll see the extra steps about permissions and location services. You just won't have to actually answer them. You just kind of nod and read them through. To do this, choose the latest backup available and wait for quite a time. This is where Apple is not being conservative. For some reason, this can take quite a while. Partway through, too, just when you've thought nothing is going on, you have to suddenly agree to terms and conditions, and then you'll be prompted to optionally sign into the iTunes store. In practice, actually, you can do this later, you can do it now, you might never bother. Whenever you do it, though, what it means is it lets you control Apple Music from your Apple Watch, and that is handy. Next, shared settings. Now, whatever you said, whatever you chose when you were setting up your iPhone, it all applies here. Location services, Find My, using Siri, sending bug reports to Apple and to developers. Whatever you said yes to on your iPhone, you're saying yes to it now as well, and you do not have a choice. There is only an OK button. Whereas you do get a choice in the next session. And actually this is quite a new addition to the setup process. You can now choose the size of text displayed on the watch face. You could fiddle here and it will show you some examples, but the odds are it's probably better to just let it go for now. Let the watch show you its default text size, say yes, because later, when you've actually used the watch for time, when you've been in and out of apps on it, then you'll know what you like and what you don't, and you can better adjust the size in settings. Strictly speaking, you could also let the next bit go, which is setting a password. No, set a password, short or long. The short one's just 4 digits long. Don't ever choose don't add passcode, because the passcode, it's too useful. When you pop the watch on your wrist and you've set a passcode, it asks you for it. And from that point until whenever you take the watch off, whenever it loses contact with your skin, you have been positively identified, verified. So you can use Apple Pay, you can confirm purchases from the App Store, and nobody else can get into your watch to do any of that. So set a passcode. Next, a couple of health-related points. You're asked if you want to set up activity, which is the watch feature that nudges you along all day into being a bit fitter. You're going to say yes, but you could, if you want, set it up later. But don't forget, activity is one of the best reasons for having an Apple Watch. So at some point, say yes and set it up. Next, enable blood oxygen. Why not? You might want to think more carefully about that stuff. You might. It's to do with keeping your watch up to date. If you let Apple have its own way, your watch will automatically get new updates and will automatically install them. And that might be fine. But if instead you would rather wait a few days until everyone else has automatically downloaded it and anybody else has found problems and Apple's fixed any problems, you can choose update manually. It does kind of mean you need to stay a bit more on top of when updates are coming out, though. The watch is going to prompt you every time there is, and actually AppleInsider will always warn you if any issues have been found and saying that you should wait for it. And now, just as with the iPhone actually, Apple inserts an Apple Pay section into setup. This really is not necessary for setting up your watch. Apple is just pushing its Apple Pay service. But yeah, go on. Now or later, do set it up. Because the ability to pay for something with your wrist, it's gigantic. It makes you feel paying with your iPhone, it feels prehistoric. You can add all or some or any of your credit cards and debit cards to your watch and actually do them all. Get through the rest of the setup, come back to the settings and Apple Pay, add the cards. By the way, if you've already done it on your phone, if you've already added your cards to your phone, then the process of adding them to the watch as well is really quick. You just confirm you want to do it, you confirm the card, and then there's a bit of back and forth of text messages with your bank to prove it's there. Next, emergency SOS, no options. Apple is just telling you, really. If necessary, it will phone somebody, it will contact somebody when you're in trouble. Just continue it. Next is another one where it's just telling you, well, more than telling you, just promoting. This bit is promoting the fact that Apple Watch Series 5 and later have an always-on display. So instead of the face being blank until you turn the wrist or sometimes do a flamenco movement, it's on all the time. That's really nice. I mean, seriously, it's great. But you can adjust it in settings later, make some small changes, and you can't do any of that right here in setup. Whereas you can set whether you want your watch apps to be displayed as well. Apple's calling it a grid here, but really it's more of a honeycomb shape. So choose, display it as the honeycomb or as the straight list. And frankly, the list is boring and the honeycomb grid is confusing. So you're not going to win there at all. Pick either or leave it as it is and know that you can change your mind later. And the very good thing is, that's actually the last decision you have to make. It's the last part of setting up that you have to do. It's just still nowhere near the last part of setting up that has to be done. You'll get this Apple Watch is syncing message, and it's going to make you sync a bit too, because it's long. The length of time it takes, it varies on all sorts of things, such as if you've used a backup, how much data is being copied from the backup and installed, but purely as just one example. This watch you're looking at here, it took a little under 5 minutes to fill out that circle. Once it was done though, it was done. Apple Watch is then ready to use, which means you can go straight now into a lot of fun of choosing different watch faces and adding complications, and the really great fun of getting all the activity and health workouts. Maybe you should be giving this to a family member.